So we're here because people across the United States, we kept hearing that they were getting bored playing Ojo Clark for 30 minutes at 160 miles an hour. They were bored with just playing fiddle tunes and nothing else. And so we started doing a little bit of harmony, and a few other people did too, but then Kirk fell in love with the bass dulcimer. And so we added the third part, and then the baritones came on, so we added a fourth part, and the bow dulcimers came on, and we added a fifth part, and the hammered dulcimers came on, so now we've added 2 more parts. So how do I spend my time? Writing parts. So the first thing I want you to get in your head is this is not like jamming. It is a total opposite. And so if you are in love with jamming, get over it, because this is just so different. And people that were bored with jamming and not learning any music, that's why we started this. So I think I sent Cindy some rules, some information that you need to know, and I really want to go over this with you because it is important to get this in your mind and get a mindset for playing multiple parts, especially like we do in the orchestra. And although we do perform or practice every week over Zoom, we do get invited to festivals, and we always get invited to KMW, and we always get invited to Black Mountain, and then some of the people in the far northeast, we get invited there, and sometimes we're included with other orchestras in different places like Colorado. The people on the West Coast don't always make it over here. We're very lucky to be on the East Coast with all these dulcimers. But so we get around quite a bit, and we stay pretty busy and on the road or in the air quite a bit. So I really want to emphasize some of the stuff that I sent you on those 3 pages. So the very first thing is, dulcimer players think that they have to take their music with them when they jam, and they have to play exactly what's written on the page, and they're scared to death of making a mistake, and they're scared to death somebody's going to hear their mistake. That's not jamming. That's trying to perform unprepared. Jamming,
I would say that again, that just yes.
Playing like that, reading the music, and being scared to play above a whisper is not jamming. That's not the purpose of jamming. You shouldn't be there if that's what you think you're supposed to be doing, but dulcimer players are the world's worst for that. Sarah Kate Morgan and I have had conversations on this mindset. Jamming is where you go to explore, and everybody's making a loud racket, and they are trying to explore their own things. It might be a harmony, it might be playing a different octave, it might be playing chords while everybody else is playing the melody. And it's just a time to explore while somebody's playing the melody part and gives you a foundation to explore. And if there's a bunch of them and they're playing really loud, you end up playing like this if you're trying to hear what you're doing. But that's what it's about. That's why it should be fun. It's not fun if you're going to sit there and go and scared to death somebody's going to hear you. That's not fun. That's very stressful. And if you make a mistake, nobody's going to know who it is. And if you make a mistake, nobody cares. Okay? Because they're worried about making their own mistakes because of that ancient mindset we have. So, but this will be the one and only time you will hear me ever say, when you play multiple parts, you play exactly what's written on your paper. You do not deviate, you do not explore. And if you want to make me mad, start adding in extra notes that are on my part instead of holding your note while I get to do that run. That makes me mad. That's my part. So sometimes somebody's running and somebody's holding and somebody's doing a harmony part, and when we write these things we divide it all up so everybody has something to do. One of the things we're hoping to do today is the melody skips around to every part, and there's 8 parts in that. So you don't get to play the melody part the whole time. You might play 8 measures and then it jumps to some other part and then some other part. So knowing how to do that is very important. You're not trying to drown them out. You have to play so that the audience can hear the melody part. So when I pass out a new piece of music, I always tell FNDO that everyone is required to know how to play the melody part. And then you can pick any part you want to play. When we go to a festival to perform, they send me 2 parts, 2 choices, and then try to balance all the parts out and make sure that we have enough melody parts so that the audience will know what we're playing. Because if you're playing harmonies and backups and there's not enough melodies, they're not going to know what that song is. So there's a thing called balance. And if we've got 40 people, 39 of them can't be playing something else while one person's playing the melody. You've got to have at least an equal or higher in the melody part, or they're not going to understand what the song is. And I hope that makes sense. Okay? But the other parts are playing all those chord parts. Have you ever tried to play a really hard thing that had like 4 parts to a chord, or at least three parts to a chord, and you're a beginner and you're trying to play this chord, or even worse, this chord, and you can't reach it or you don't know it? Somebody else in orchestra, somebody's going to be playing that note, and somebody's going to be playing that note, and somebody else is going to be playing that note, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. If you can play one note, you got it made for probably 90% of what we do. So, you want to blend and balance all those parts, whether there's 3 parts or 8 or 12 parts, so that you can, or the audience can hear the whole blend. You're not there to show off. We have one song where somebody gets to do an improv, and everybody else is doing some kind of wonky rhythm in the background, and people have to try out for that improv. And so everybody gets quieter while that person is doing their improv of St. James Infirmary Blues. And then when they're finished, we all join back in. So Mark, you've probably been to multiple instrument jams before, and they'll call out guitars, and everybody else gets quiet, and the guitars kind of get louder. And then they'll say accordions, and so the one accordion drowns everybody else, and they're trying to play and be heard. And then there might be the tambourines. So they get louder and everybody else gets softer. And that's kind of what you do when you have a soloist, which we don't do that often because it's hard to practice that on Zoom. All right, so balance is important. You also want to make sure that you're aware of your intonation. If you're constantly hitting your notes and they sound like that instead of this is poor intonation. And now when my hand gets tired, I do a lot of poor intonation. But you always want to make sure your note is clear, crystal clear as possible. The good thing is if there's 12 of you playing that same part, yours is not going to stand out as if you were playing the solo by yourself. So you learn to adjust. If Sue gets lost, I'm going to get a little louder until she finds her way back in, and then I'll soften up because she's come back in. I'm not there to drown her out. Okay? So your intonation is important. That's an accurate pitch. You're going to push yourself beyond your normal comfort level, because if Kathy can do it, I can do it too. And so you have this little thing going, and that's good as long as you keep it, nice. You will widen your knowledge of musical styles and types. We play fiddle tunes, believe it or not. We play a few, not many, but there are multiple parts. Hymns, which are beautiful, popular, and a lot of classical So all that stuff we learned on Bugs Bunny when we were kids, we play it because we know it. And you will get to do one of those today, hopefully. You will become more conscious of your weaknesses. You know, if you're playing in the corner of your living room by yourself all the time and it sounds right, you think it's right until you record yourself. Or when you get into the ensemble and you then find out it becomes obvious you're not as good at that as you thought you were. And so that's a focus point for you. It will really help you buckle down and get that right. So it, in the long run, makes you a better player. And if you don't believe me, Sue and Judy are, that's my sister and me, Sue and Judy, are in FNDO, and I'm sure they will back up what I'm saying. We work, you know, when you're playing Old Joe Clark in a jam, you're playing as fast and as loud and as furious, hopefully, as you can. And that's supposed to be fun. But in orchestra, we play, we learn about dynamics, and we do all those funny little MFs and PPPs and FFFs and SZF and all this stuff. And then we have the crescendos and decrescendos and rallentandos and retards and moco retard, and we have all this stuff. So we're learning the language of music, which is mostly Italian, as well as playing our parts. And then learning those dynamics and those embellishments are part of the interpretation of the music. And so you learn how to interpret the music. You build up or swell until you come to a climax, and then you drop down. And you do that by watching the conductor and watching your music notation. Your music will tell you what to do if you let it. Okay, it's all about playing music, not reading the notes on the paper and just hitting it. There's a big difference. You will have dedicated rehearsal times, and I always ask my people, if you're going to be in my orchestra, you need to be committed. You know now when our orchestra meets. So if you schedule your doctor's appointment at that time, that's just not right. So commitment. If you're married, you know what a commitment is. So this is like a commitment. If you start saying, oh, well, I really want to go to the fair with Tommy, and it's during our rehearsal time, that's not commitment. If something better comes along, it's like, can you reschedule that to a different time? I'm already committed. I had a group one time that forgot about commitment, and not one melody player was there that day. So they missed the lesson, but it was very frustrating, not only for me, but for everybody else that showed up, because you could not tell what we were playing, and you will see that in some of the parts that we have today. It makes no sense until you put it all together. Okay, your second page, just remember, you cannot do your own thing in ensemble. You save that for your jam time. Ensemble, you do what's on the page. That's one of the most important things. So your second page is 10 benefits of playing in an ensemble. And again, that kind of repeats some of the stuff that I've already said about your intonation and pushing yourself and widening your musical styles and knowledge. And we always try to explain, especially with hymns or certain songs we play, we try to give the background, because that helps you, if you know what that song's supposed to be about, it helps you learn how to play it with the appropriate feeling and expression. So that's really important. Do y'all know the fiddle tune Cold Frosty Morn? Do you play it fast and furious? It is about the war between the English and the Scottish when the English invaded Scotland and killed everybody in their midst at the Battle of Culloden. We were there this summer and walked through the battlefield. It's a terrible place. It gives me chills just to think about it. And I've been to places where Cold Frosty Morn came up and they just played it fast and furious. It should be practically a dirge, because it's about the morning after the battle. Not only did the English kill the Scottish warriors, they went house to house and killed the women and the children. they just wiped it all out, and it was terrible. And so it should not be played like that, because it was not that. Not for the Scottish and anybody else looking on. Okay, English might have been. So these 10 benefits are on your second page, and then your third page is 7 thoughts and tips for ensemble success. And so anytime you sit down, I've been impressed with Sue. We've sat down several times. The first thing she does is she starts doing scales and warming up her fingers. You would not dream of running a marathon and just getting on the start line and running when the gun sounds. You're going to stretch and warm up those muscles to start with. Your fingers and hands need the same thing. So warm-ups, even if you're at a jam or just practicing at home, that's important. And then your tone. A lot of people, especially little old ladies, you know, they'll want to play like, they don't want anybody to hear them, you know, and they'll sit on the back row so nobody will see them. And, you know, if you start out that way without confidence, you're going to probably play without confidence through the whole thing. What are you doing there? You know, start out. Go ahead and be confident to start with, and it should carry through. That's real important. So that's part of your tone. And your rhythm. Oh, Lord, have mercy. That is the hardest thing to teach, and you have to be able to count. For instance, if you have a song that's in 6/8 times, sometimes I encourage them to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But sometimes we can play it 1, 2, 1, 2, and you're doing your. And you've got to be able to do that. You can't do, because it's going to be a disaster. So your rhythm is really, really important. And we don't do straight rhythms. We do dotted eighth notes and 16th notes, not all the time. And you will see we're going to demonstrate some stuff today. And we're going to do a couple of the songs that you're doing in class today. And then interpretation is so important. By learning your dynamics and playing with expression, knowing the background, when you're playing, you're communicating something to the audience. You're not just up there hitting some notes. So that's really important, is knowing how to interpret the music, knowing the story behind it, and above all else, following the conductor, because the conductor might have his own or her own interpretation of the music. And your job is to play the music as they interpret it to you. They're not up there just flopping hands to cool off. They're trying to talk to you without hollering out. That would not be good at all, would it? And then your parts. Today we're going to take our time and we're going to look at each part, because if you think, well, I like to play harmony, so I'm just going to zone out until she gets to the harmony part. Well, you don't know how your part fits in with the other parts. You don't know what the bass person is doing if you're not listening to that bass part. So I always require all my members to go through every part, and they pick the part that they want to perfect, but they also have to perfect what?
Melody.
The melody part, in case somebody gets sick and drops out, okay? Not that they're not committed, they're just sick. Okay, and then your stage presence, and I'm sure in jam when you go out and perform, they tell you, if you make a mistake, don't do this, you know. Don't stop, don't frown, just smile and keep going. Because when there's a big group like this, they won't know. If they heard it, they won't know who did it. You just look over at Kirk and glare at him like he did. No, don't do that either. Okay, so then the one last thought. Oh, and don't hide behind your music. You see these girls have high stands. As dulcimer players, we've started out playing on these low stands. So when I'm with a group and they all have the dulcimer stands, do you know what I see?
Tops of it.
top of the heads. And it's like, I don't want to see the top of your head, I want to see your eyeballs. So gradually they figure it out and they go and get a stand where they can put it up so that they can look at their music and see what I'm doing with my hands. This one's usually keeping the beat, okay, and this one's telling them to get louder or softer or stop or come in. You know, this one's telling everybody what to do and this one's keeping the beat. So if you get lost, you'll at least know where. First beat for me is always at the bottom. Not every conductor does that, okay, but I had to learn in college for a grade and I was taught this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4, and then this is 1. And so when I first started conducting, I bought a conductor's book, and Kirk will tell you he got tickled at me just walking around the house going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, dragging the vacuum cleaner from one room to the next, and I'm conducting along the way. So we'll do a 4/4 and maybe a 3/4 today. And so my 3/4 is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if you're sitting in the way back, I'm usually standing, but I'm not going to stand today because I didn't bring my stand. So it's going to be hard for you to see when my hand goes down to about my waist, and it'll bounce usually for 1, 2, 3. If it gets worse, like if I had to do all 6 counts of 6, 8, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't like that. It's easier to do 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so then the last thing is your performance is to give joy to the people that are listening to you. And there is no one that day, and this will apply in your jams and your playouts, there's no one that day that is better prepared to do your part than you. So with that note, we're going to look first at Danny Boyd.
I want to say,
Put his two
can you
cents.
hear me okay?
Yes.
Is it coming out? I can't tell. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I really can't hear very well myself, so I need to have visuals. I need you to say yes. And like Judy said, when she's conducting, for me, I rely on visual cues, and because I can't hear the other people that are playing with me, I just can't hear them, and so I need to have a conductor that's standing in the front that's giving me very clear visual clues. I can follow that. That's the only way I can play in the orchestra with any kind of proficiency. So just to emphasize, or reiterate what Judy said there, but I want to tell you a quick little story, 2 minutes, that kind of illustrates all about playing in an orchestra versus playing in a jam. Way back when I was just a young pup playing the dulcimer, I went to one of Don Petty's retreats. How many of you ever been to some of his retreats he does up at Wild Acres? And it's a very special retreat at a very special place. And it's a large facility, and they can accommodate more than one group at a time. Don usually does a very small, limited attendance, no more than 15 people come to his retreat, and maybe not that many. But anyway, I went to one of his retreats early on, and I was really just getting to play the dulcimer, and to me there was nothing better than just doing a jam. That was just the highlight of everything, jamming. Well, anyway, at this particular session we were at Wild Acres, there was another music group. They were all cellists, all cello players, and they were pretty serious musicians. Anyway, everybody had their own place where they did their workshops and separated, but we would kind of come together for meals, which was in a common cafeteria type thing. So anyway, I got to talking to one of these cello players, and I was fascinated by what they were doing. And I said, y'all have a music group here. We have a dulcimer music group here. Maybe we should get together and jam together. Well, that lady looked at me and said, "We don't jam." Oh, you don't jam? So, because what she meant was they played specific parts, like Judy's talking about, like in an orchestra. Everybody has their part, they play that part. It's not about going in there and doing your own thing. So we never did get to jam with the cello players, but I did get a chance to talk to this lady, and I asked her, had she ever played a dulcimer? And she hardly knew what a dulcimer was, and I had never played a cello. So before the week was over, we swapped lessons. I gave her a lesson on playing the dulcimer, and she gave me a brief lesson on playing a cello, which was amazing to me. And then we did this in the auditorium where the performance was. This was early one morning when nobody was in there. And John Hawk, a lot of you probably know John Hawk, he was at that retreat too. So he got up on the stage along with the cello player, and they played a duet. And it was kind of jamming. Anyway, that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, so in Danny Boy, if you look at Dulcimer 1, which we should all look at first, you can see that's kind of busy, isn't it? You would not want to be a beginner or a lower level player and be stuck with that. So if you'll flip over and look at Dulcimer 2, you might want to breathe a sigh of relief. 3 is for the baritone. Do we have any baritones in here today? Gee, you get to shine. And then any basses in here besides Kirk? Oh, y'all need to branch out. So you can see those 3 parts are pretty mild-mannered. So if you know where your fret numbers are and you know how to read the notation, you can play this. Okay, I wouldn't recommend, if that's all you can do, to pick Dulcimer 1, but the other 3 parts are very simple and you can do those. So let's look at number 1, Dulcimer 1, and slowly, if you'll see this says tempo is 91, we always give a targeted tempo, but I don't like it that fast, so I have slowed it down even slower to about 70, 72, and I keep my trusty right here. When we start getting too fast or too slow, I have to pull that out, even on Zoom. So Danny Boy, we're going to sight read. You should sight read something every day. It's good for you to sight read. So we're going to take our time, and if you can't keep up, that's okay. There will be a part for you. All right, but we need to know what the Dulcimer 1s are doing. Okay, so when I count in, and I'm not going to conduct today because I'm going to be playing with you. You see there's 3 eighth notes as pickup notes. So that would be counted as 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So you come in on the and of 3, the upbeat. If you're patting your foot, it's down, up. Down is the number, up is the and. So it's like 1 and 2 and 3. Oh, Danny Boy. Okay? So I'm going to give you the count of 4 and 3. And then we're going to come in on that first beat. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you know what this means? Why am I counting in? I'm always amazed people don't know why the leader counts in. Tempo. I've counted in with groups and counted slow, and they ripped in old Joe Clark just as fast, and I'm going, whoa, that's not what I said. Especially when we have beginners in there, and they're, already scared to death. So it's tempo, and so we all start at the same time. Otherwise, it's going to be like dominoes. So 4 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and good. Watch your notes. Honor your dots. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1 and 2, 3. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. And then we would start again. You hold it for the first 2.5 beats, and then if we were going to play it twice, we'd start over on the and of 3. Questions about this part? That was not bad for a first go through. Okay, so now flip over to Dulcimer 2. So you see that dotted quarter rest at the beginning of Dulcimer 2? So that tells you to hold for those 3 beats, because Dulcimer 1 is doing Oh Danny. That was our pickup notes. And then everybody else will start in on the first full measure on the beat of 1 there, okay? So when we're playing this as a group, you're going to listen for the ones to do Old Danny, and then you all kick in with Boy, okay? So that's a good way to remember it if you get confused by that dotted quarter rest. And let me just say right now, I am a real stickler for rests and holding your notes properly. A rest is just as important as the note. Do I need to say that again? A rest is just as important as the note. If Sue cuts her rest short, she's going to finish before us. Or it's going to sound like the dominoes have fallen down, and that's not going to be good. It's very frustrating. Then who do you follow? The conductor and the rest of the group, or do you follow Sue? Okay, don't ask Sue. So let's just sight read through Dulcimer 2. So I'll just say 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to start on this one. Or I'll say 4, 5, 6, and we'll forget the pickup right now. So 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. You're ahead of me by a whole beat. Count. You can count to 6. I know you can. Or to 4. No, I'm behind. I'm doing 6, 8. Sorry. That's my first mistake this year. Okay, so I'm going to give you
4. Got it. 4.
And 4 and then we'll come in. So and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Honor your dots. That's a 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And did you quiet? I still heard some of this. Listen, it should be 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you just drop that part of your side of your hand down on your strings, it will stop it. Or Kirk he uses this hand, I don't. So you can either mute, but you do not go, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on the and. So if you have to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So let's start at measure 5, beginning of second line. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and look ahead when you have a rest. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, I found a mistake. That second 0 at the very end should have a flag on it. That's your third beat, and the rest of that third beat's at the beginning. That's the dot at the beginning. So it's really hard to make these things right when you look at it so much. So it should be 2.5 beats there. Should be a 8th note. Okay. Any questions about Dulcimer 2? Okay, let's just read Dulcimer 3 because you're getting ready to make beautiful music, and Judy's going to be tuned to AEA. Baritones are beautiful, but they don't play in DAD. If you get a baritone, don't try to put it in DAD. Your strings will break, or they'll just lay down on the fretboard and you can't play them. So they're always tuned to something that is comparable. Okay, so Judy's going to be doing, she won't need to do this, she already knows how to do this. If she's the only baritones, there's no other baritones, right? Right. All right, so we won't waste our time with listening to Judy play. We won't put her on the spot, but it's basically the very same rhythm we just got through playing. And then our bass, and we had no other basses in here. Okay. Now, you do not have to have a bass instrument to play the bass because most of their stuff is written on the bass line, but this one is written mostly on the middle and the melody line because I did it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay, and so, you know, if you want to play the bass part, it's the very same rhythm we just got through playing, but you have a nice little run on measure 12 where you're going, you know that. I'm going back. Okay, you get to do that while everybody else is doing their half notes. Okay, so you really want to shine on that. So don't be playing like a little old lady, because they're not going to hear that. And the audience is going to get uncomfortable because they know that that's supposed to be there, and that's your job. Okay, so pick a part, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And Judy will hold up the 3s, and I will play the melody. Yes, sir?
Okay, you told me I could go ahead and play chords.
Yes.
How do you want them? You want them on the beat, or?
It's up to you as chords. You know, I'm sure you're used to playing with the dulcimer. So whatever you guitar people do, you can follow the chords and do. You can arpeggiate it. You know, just don't drown out these beautiful dulcimers. I don't know what might happen if you do that.
Got it away from the mic.
All right, so 4 and 3, and the ones are going to start, and everybody else is going to come in on boy. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. As you get more comfortable, listen for the other parts, especially the bass, because they keep the rhythm. You get to your last note, I want to see your eyeballs. You hold it as long as the conductor holds it, and then they'll usually do something to cut you off. And I didn't explain that, but I heard some hands drop. You knew what that meant, didn't you? And so you have to look. If you don't look any other time, look at the beginning and look at the end. But when you start getting fermatas thrown in there, you better look. Because it's that person's interpretation often. Yes, ma'am.
There's no strumming, it's all just.
Right. Now I forgot to say that, yeah. We have a minimal amount of things, or sometimes we'll throw in a chord part where you will play a full chord and strum that, but usually it's just that one note. That's why once beginners know where the 7, 8, 9 and all that are, they can play this too, if they know how to count their music. It's not that difficult, okay?
So what do we do if you hold your hands up and our dulcimers don't ring that long?
Sometimes we have some music that might have a whole note that goes on for 5 measures. And so, our dulcimers are not going to do that. So what I recommend is you will hit it 2, 3, 4, 1. I missed the whole string. So I'm looking at it cockeyed. 1,
Watch your cable
2,
there.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Just barely tap it so you'll get. But what's really nice is when you have a large enough group that's doing it, you can stagger your pluck. So, it's gently doing this instead of everybody doing a clear on one every time. And that's kind of nice too.
Yeah, I'm doing that in Jim the P.
Yeah.
One that goes.
Yeah.
Because
You
it's
just
in the
have
melody.
to keep it going, but you're not going to hit it like this every time either, because it's just a carryover. That's why it's beautiful when you have your bowed dulcimers, because they can keep that going. So if I have a real long thing, so that's the bowed dulcimer part. And you will see one of those in Largo today. I think you have the dulcimer, the part for that. Okay? Any other questions? Please do ask questions, because I'll be going home tomorrow and I won't be here to answer your questions. Okay. If there's no questions, let's look at Bonaparte Crossing the Rhine. Do any of you know that? It's a fiddle tune. There's lots of Bonaparte songs. The 4 of us will be playing Danny Boy for you today, and we'll be playing Bonaparte. So you get to hear it. When you're out there, you hear the people around you. And now when we go perform, I like to have people sitting in a certain order. It's not just mixed like it is here. So I'll have all my basses down the middle, right in front of me. So everybody hears the bass, because the bass carries the rhythm. Okay, and they have to be heard. So then the baritone 1s and dulcimer 2s sit over here. So if you do bass and baritone, you're over here, and then the 2s are over here, and then baritones are here, and the 1s are here. So the baritones will often fluctuate, either baritone bass or 1 or 2. So they sit in the same general area, and then they can hear each other, all right? It's not this mixture like we have today, but nobody hears it any better than I do, because I'm standing right in front and I get the total sound. So that's what we're going to provide for you today. So we're going to play a couple of these songs, and you get to hear, the 4 of us, play the total sound. It sounds totally different. Okay? All right, so Bonaparte. This is a 2-pager, so if you've got it on your tablet, be prepared. But it's you've got repeats, so you won't have to do too much, except on your B part. You get on the first page. Who knows this? Okay. Let me just run through the melody one time. I won't do the repeat. that's pretty straightforward, just like it would be if we were strumming. Okay, just like it would be in the Let's Jam book, or Stephen Seifert's Join the Jam books. Flip over and look at Dulcimer 2. It's very similar with the rhythm. It's just a true harmony part. Okay, so anybody could do Dulcimer 1 or Dulcimer 2. Look at Dulcimer 3. This is a little bit busy. It was not written for the hammered dulcimer, but it would be perfect for hammered dulcimer. So if you've got your hammered dulcimer, this would be the part you would play. It is a counter melody, which means it's partly melody but partly harmony, and it's all mixed together, and it moves all over the fretboard and is a bear. So when you are playing a song that has a counter melody that looks like this, you have to play at the speed of the people that are playing this. So if they can't play it as fast as I just played Dulcimer 1, that's too fast. So you slow down, because this is a beautiful part. Now often when I do a counter melody, it comes days or weeks after I have done the other parts, and then this part just pops in my head, and it's like, I've got to stop and go get this down. And so Sue will be playing this part today. She's worked on this, so she likes the challenge. And so that's pretty busy. And then when you look at the 4, the bass part is a typical bass part. Normally the bass plays on the 1st and the 3rd beat. So if you're listening, and then you'll know they're playing on the 1st or the 3rd beat, and that'll help guide you if you get lost. And then sometimes they'll throw in a run, like at the end of the 1st line. He has a walk down, is what the bass player calls it. And, or no, he's walking up there. But a lot of times they'll walk down or walk back up.
Measure 8 has a walk down.
Okay, measure 8, yes. Measure 8 has the 4, 3, 2, 1. And you might have heard that a while ago.
Yeah, let me say something about the bass part also. A lot of, like Judy said, typical bass part in 4/4 time, which this is, we play on beat 1 and beat 3. You'll notice that on beat 2 and beat 4, it's marked with a rest, a quarter note, a quarter measure rest. It's important that you actually rest. In other words, there's no sound coming from your instrument. So you're playing a bump, mute, bump, mute. You got to know how to mute your strings, so you do not have sound coming on beat 2 and beat 4, because this gets back to what Judy was saying earlier. You're stepping on somebody else's part. So that's why you need to be quiet on the 2nd and 4th beat. There's some songs that it's not that important. This one, it is important. You need to pay attention to what it's written, and when it says rest, you need to have it muted. There's several different ways to mute. I'm not going to go into all that. If you took my bass dulcimer class, you learned at least 3 ways to mute. But as long as you know how to get it done, that's fine. Just pay attention to the rest. Thank you.
Yeah, oftentimes, especially on our Latin music, we play several Latin songs. One part will be playing on the 1st and the 3rd beat, and the other part will be playing on the 2nd and the 4th beat. And that's hard for Americans to do, 2nd and 4th beat. We're used to 1st and 3rd is so strong here. So you have to watch that. Yes, ma'am?
This bass part, is that meant for a regular dulcimer like that?
Yes. A regular dulcimer can do any bass part that we write.
I got you.
Okay, so let's just go through without the repeats, because I really want to get to Largo also. So let's go straight through Dulcimer 1, and then we'll add in the other parts. Okay, so I'm going to count in 4 and 2 because we have 2 beat pickup. Okay, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then we'll start, but not that fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, second ending. Second ending here. Nice job. Y'all, I can't believe you don't know that song. Okay, questions about Dulcimer 1? It's pretty straightforward. Okay, let's flip over and look at Dulcimer 2.
In Winston-Salem, we call this Bonaparte Crossing the Yadkin River. That's the river that flows through our county.
Okay, no repeats, we're just gonna go straight through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 2. Second ending. I know that sounds weird, but it works. Are you listening for the bass? Walking down. Second ending. Okay, questions? It's really similar. It's just the harmony part for the melody. Okay, let's look at the third part. Okay, do we have any hammered people in here? Okay, good. This is your part. Okay, we won't do it fast, okay? But a lot of the hammer parts I'm writing are written like this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2. Good. Measure tenths where we are. Quarter notes here. Second ending, 2. 2 and 3 and 4. 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Good. See now why I slowed it down? it takes a little bit extra effort to get these counter melody parts. And then let's just go through the bass part because this is a good full bass part, okay? And when you practice together, or like we always provide individual recordings of each part, and then we do all the parts together. So if you have those, and I know several of you have bought my book one, you can download those from my website, or I guess you don't send them out. And then you can play along with your part and learn how your part goes, or you can play along with all parts and hear how your part fits in, okay? And FNDO people really, if you don't give them those parts, boy, they start squealing. All right.
I want to say something about to the hammered dulcimer players, because Judy mentioned she's trying to add in parts written specifically for hammered dulcimers. But actually, if I'm not mistaken, most of you hammered dulcimer players, you do read standard music notation, right? Because that's how most hammered dulcimer parts are written. They're not written like tab. But Judy's music always has both tab for mountain dulcimer, and it has standard music notation, like any good sheet music should. And it has the chords written on top of it, also like any good music should. So really, you hammered dulcimer players, you can play any of the parts as long as you read the standard music notation. But we are working with, how many of you know Maria Katz? Do you know her? She's a hammered dulcimer teacher, and she's been teaching for a long time, a certified musician, blah, blah, blah. And we've had her at our orchestra symposium, which we mentioned earlier. And so we've been working with her to work up some parts specifically for hammered dulcimer that will take advantage of the unique capabilities of that instrument. So we're working on it.
Okay, just for fun, let's play this bass part. And remember to mute. Give your first beat and your third beat full credit. So when you get ready to say two, that's when you mute. You don't do it on the and of one. It's not one, okay? It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, don't do it early. You've got to leave it there for its whole. It might jump up at you if you don't.
So somebody can play the melody? Because it makes more sense if you hear it.
All right, well, you play the bass
I'll play the
and I'll
bass.
play the melody. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'm playing the 3 part.
I was going to say,
What's wrong with this? Who wrote this? I'm sorry. Okay, that's 2 mistakes. I'm moving into 26. Okay, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Good. Isn't that pretty? Good. No repeat, just keep going. So I eventually get to the point where when I'm playing a part, if Kirk's not playing with me, I still hear him, especially when he's doing those runs. And it's nice, so when you're playing parts together like this, you should always listen for that bass because they're going to keep the rhythm. Okay, so pick a part, and let's do this without the repeat. One
How
time.
many of you want to be bass players from now on?
Oh, that's what I always say. Not everybody can play the bass part, and they do have to have a sense of rhythm. So, all right. Pick a part. I'm going to give you 4 and 2, and then we're just going to play through this. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Remember that counter melody, don't leave them. Nice. Cut it off, I hear a ring.